Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going on a bit of a hunt for what I like to call the hidden glue.
The hidden glue. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, because, we spend a massive amount of time on this show analyzing the hardware of business.
Right, the tangible stuff.
Exactly. The shiny tech stacks, the AI implementations, profit margins, the quarterly earnings reports. We love that stuff because you can touch it.
You can measure it. It's so much easier to put on a spreadsheet, right? You can put a number on a profit margin.
You can.
But you can't really put a number on a vibe.
You definitely cannot. But today, we're looking at a source that argues none of that matters. Literally none of that hardware works without the software.
And just to be completely clear for everyone listening, when we say software today, we are not talking about code.
No, we're talking about culture.
Yeah.
Specifically, we're unpacking Chapter 10 of the book Support Experience by Krishna Raj Raja.
Which is such a fascinating read.
It is. But I know as soon as I say the word culture, I have the audience probably just rolled their eyes.
I almost did, and I'm sitting right next to you.
Right. Because culture usually feels like corporate lingo for just be nice to each other.
Or it's just a poster in the break room.
Yes, the eagle soaring over a mountain that says integrity. It just feels soft.
It feels very soft. The classic hang in there kitty poster.
Exactly.
But what Raja argues in this chapter, which is titled Building an SX Culture, is that culture isn't a poster.
No.
It's an operating system.
An operating system.
Yeah, it's the set of default behaviors that happen when the CEO isn't in the room. And more importantly, he argues it's a legitimate competitive weapon.
And that right there is the hook for me. If culture is a weapon, how do we actually wield it? Because the book uses Adobe as the North Star example here.
They do.
And Adobe is interesting because they're basically the grandfathers of the SaaS world.
Oh, absolutely. They've been around for 40 years.
Which is ancient.
In Silicon Valley years, that is technically ancient. But just think about what they survived. They survived the desktop to cloud transition.
Which killed a lot of companies.
It wiped people out. They survived the shift to subscription models, and now they're navigating the AI boom.
And the argument here is that they didn't do that just by having good code.
No, because code rots. Strategy expires.
Right.
Raja argues they survived because they updated their software, their core values.
Like what?
Well, they have values like create the future and own the outcome.
Which sound a little like posters.
They do, but they aren't just slogans. They are permissions. They're strategic pivots that allowed Adobe employees to make decisions without waiting for a command from the top.
Okay, so if the culture is the operating system, the book breaks this down into 3 specific pillars for a support experience culture.
Yeah, a true SX culture.
I want to list them out so we have a roadmap before we get into the weeds.
Sure. So the 3 pillars are 1, being completely obsessed with the voice of the customer.
Okay.
2, breaking down silos through radical transparency.
Radical transparency.
Right. And 3, valuing long-term improvement over short-term Band-Aids.
Let's start with pillar 1, the voice of the customer. Or voci. I feel like every company on earth claims to be customer obsessed.
Oh, everyone.
It's like saying you breathe air. It's the default setting. So what makes the support experience version of this any different?
You're right that everyone says it, but very few companies actually maximize it. The difference is moving from just listening to embodying.
Embodying.
Yeah. The book uses the term outside-in thinking, whereas most companies represent inside-out thinking.
Define that for me. Inside out versus outside in.
So inside out means you look at your internal constraints first. You say, well, our database is structured this way, so we can't offer that feature.
Oh, I see.
Or our legal team says we have to do it this way. You basically push your internal complexity out onto the customer.
Which we have all felt.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you're on support call and the agent says, I'm sorry, the system won't let me do that.
Yes.
That is the most frustrating sentence in the English language.
Exactly. That is inside out. Outside in starts with the customer's reality and forces the company to bend around it.
Okay.
And the book highlights that this has to start at the very top. You look at Amazon. Jeff Bezos famously kept an empty chair in board meetings.
And the empty chair represented the customer, right?
Ideally, the most important person in the room. Or you look at Brian Chesky at Airbnb.
Right.
This is the CEO of a massive public company, and he still occasionally sleeps in Airbnbs. He interacts directly with hosts.
So they're actually out there.
He's not relying on a sanitized report from a middle manager. He's gathering the raw data himself.
But I can hear the pushback already. We've got leaders listening to this who are thinking, look, I'm running a strategy. I don't have time to sleep on a stranger's couch or answer support tickets.
They'll say it's micromanagement.
Exactly.
It's a fair critique, but the book counters it with a pretty brutal truth. Leaders are in the details.
Leaders are in the details.
If you delegate the understanding of your customer, you're delegating your strategy. And if you want to know what happens when you have great data but zero empathy, you just have to look at Nokia.
Oh, man. The Nokia story in this chapter is tragic.
It really is.
They are the ultimate we missed the boat example.
But the why is what's so fascinating. It wasn't that they were stupid. Nokia had the best market research department in the entire world.
They did.
They had mountains of big data. They knew every number, every price point, every battery statistic.
So how did they miss the iPhone? How did they completely miss the smartphone revolution?
Because they ignored the thick data.
Thick data. Let's pause there. That's a term we definitely need to define explicitly because it almost sounds made up.
It's a real sociological term. Big data tells you what is happening at scale. It's quantitative. Thick data tells you why it's happening on a human level.
So it's qualitative.
Right. Nokia hired an ethnographer named Trisha Wang around 2009. She went to China and literally lived with people.
Wow.
She worked as a street vendor. She hung out in internet cafes.
So she was doing the Brian Chesky thing before Brian Chesky.
Exactly. And she came back with a massive insight. She saw that even people with very little disposable income were willing to spend half their monthly salary on a smartphone.
Half their salary.
Yes. She realized these devices weren't just tools anymore. They were status symbols. They were gateways to a digital life.
Okay.
She told Nokia, the world is shifting. People want experience, not just battery life.
She essentially gave them the winning lottery numbers.
She did. And Nokia's leadership looked at her report, looked at their big data spreadsheets, and said, we don't see it.
They just rejected it.
Their numbers said people wanted durable phones. They rejected her insight because it didn't fit their existing model. They had the data, but they didn't have the voice of the customer.
And they lost everything.
Everything.
It's a chilling reminder that spreadsheets can lie to you, but human behavior rarely does.
Precisely. So to avoid being Nokia, you have to find ways to get that thick data. You have to eat your own dog food.
Dog fooding. Yep. It's the grossest term in tech, but we have to use it. It means using your own product as if you were a customer.
Right. And there is this incredible story in the book about Sunbasket that takes dog fooding to a whole new level.
Tell me about Sunbasket.
So Sunbasket is a meal delivery service. Organic, healthy ingredients sent straight to your door.
Like HelloFresh or Blue Apron.
Exactly like that. Now, they had a unique problem. Their customers are in the U.S., but their support team, the people answering the phones when things go wrong, they're based in Belize.
Oh, okay. I see the disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
You can't ship a box of fresh kale and raw chicken to Belize.
Yeah.
It'll rot before it gets there. So the support agents literally cannot use the product.
Right. So imagine you're a support agent. A customer calls you screaming because their sauce leaked or the recipe card is missing.
Yeah.
You've never held the box. You've never cooked the food. You're just reading a script that says, I'm sorry for the inconvenience.
Which sounds robotic because it is robotic.
You can't fake empathy. If you haven't felt the pain, you really can't understand the anger.
So what did they do?
Brett Fraser, their VP of customer service, decided to manufacture the pain.
Manufacture.
He built a virtual simulation training program. It recreates the first 2 weeks of a customer's life cycle. But here's the genius part. It's rigged.
Rigged how?
They deliberately program screw-ups into the simulation. The agent is going through the training, pretending to order food, and the system tells them, oh, your box arrived late.
Oh, well.
Or you opened the box and the spinach is wilted.
Right.
Or you started cooking and realized you don't have the right pan.
That is brilliant. They are forcing the agents to feel the yellow state, the frustration of a degraded experience.
Exactly. They feel the specific visceral annoyance of, I was hungry and now I can't make this dinner.
And did it actually move the needle? Or was it just a fun training exercise?
It worked wonders. Their customer effort scores went up significantly.
Really?
Yeah, because when a customer called with a problem, the agent wasn't just apologizing, they were bonding. They could say, oh, I know exactly how annoying that is, and actually mean it.
That's a huge takeaway. If you can't get natural empathy because of logistics, you have to simulate it. You have to force your team to walk in the customer's shoes, even virtually.
And that leads us directly into the second pillar, because once you understand the customer's pain, you have to be able to communicate it to the rest of the company.
Right.
And that is where most organizations fail because of silos.
Pillar 2, breaking down silos through transparency. The book talks about this fear of the yellow state. We touched on it with Sunbasket, but let's define it properly in an IT context.
So in server monitoring, you have green, which means everything is good, and red, which means everything is broken or down.
Right.
But in the middle, you have yellow.
The danger zone.
Yellow means the system is degraded. It's working, but it's slow, it's glitchy, it's annoying.
Yeah.
In business, the yellow state is where the most dangerous problems live.
Why are they the most dangerous?
Because they are the small irritants that don't trigger a massive alarm, but they slowly drive your customers away.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
Exactly. Now, here's the core problem. In a traditional, siloed company, employees hide the yellow state.
Why would they hide it?
Self-preservation.
Oh.
If I tell my boss, hey, this process is kind of clunky or this code is a bit messy, I might get blamed. I might get more work.
I might just look incompetent.
Right. So I hide it. I pretend everything is green until it inevitably turns red and explodes.
So the book argues that the only way to find these hidden problems is radical transparency. And the example they use is Salesforce.
Yes.
This part, honestly, this part sounded like a nightmare to me.
You're talking about the V2MOM.
The V2MOM. Vision, values, methods, obstacles, measures. It's their internal alignment document.
Right. Every single employee writes one.
But the crazy part isn't writing it. It's that they post everyone's V2MOM publicly.
Internally, of course.
Internally, yeah. But if I work at Salesforce, I can look up the CEO Mark Benioff's goals. But I can also look up the goals of the engineer sitting right next to me. And more importantly, I can see their obstacles.
That's the key. And to add to the nightmare factor you mentioned, they also have public dashboards for support issues.
Oh, right.
Salesforce puts escalation predictions on a dashboard that is visible to the entire executive team.
See, that is terrifying.
Is it?
Imagine being a support manager. You have a dashboard that tells the CEO, hey, this account is about to blow up, and it's essentially got your signature on it. It feels like Big Brother. It feels like surveillance.
I can see that.
If I were an employee there, I'd be paranoid.
It definitely feels that way if the culture is bad. But the expert perspective here, and what Salesforce has managed to do, is flip the narrative. In a good SX culture, transparency isn't about surveillance, it's about support.
How do you make that shift? How do you convince people that exposing their flaws is safe?
You change the reaction.
Okay.
If you hide a problem, you're on your own. If you broadcast a problem, you get what they call swarming.
Swarming.
The team swarms the issue to help you solve it. It turns hiding a mistake into solving a problem together.
So it's psychological safety. The transparency is the bat signal. It's a call for help, not a confession of guilt.
Precisely. If you punish the messenger, they stop bringing messages. If you help the messenger, they bring you everything.
That makes a lot of sense.
And transparency doesn't always have to be about doom and gloom either. The book gives a lighter example from Freshworks.
The screens, right?
Yes. Freshworks realized that support agents often only hear from the rest of the company when things break.
Which is pretty typical.
So they installed giant screens in their offices. Whenever a customer gives a compliment or a high rating to a support agent, it flashes up on the big screen.
That's cool. It's like a public high five.
It boosts morale, sure.
Right.
But functionally, it reinforces what good looks like.
Yeah.
It breaks down the silo between the support agent and the product engineers walking by. They see, oh, that is the value we're delivering.
So transparency stops politics and starts problem solving.
Yeah.
But this brings us to the third pillar. Because if you have radical transparency and you have dashboards flashing yellow state alerts everywhere, doesn't that just burn everyone out?
That is the conflict. Pillar 3 is about valuing long-term improvement. But you're right, there is a tension there.
Yeah.
If I'm an engineer and I'm constantly seeing alerts that customers are unhappy, I'm going to have a panic attack.
I just mute the notifications.
Yeah.
And then we're back to square one, ignoring the problem.
Which defeats the whole purpose. There is a great story about this from the author's own company, Support Logic.
Okay.
They built this very sophisticated feature that used AI to predict escalations.
Nice.
So if a customer was getting annoyed, the system would send a Slack alert to the engineering team.
Bing, customer angry. Bing, customer angry.
Exactly. And the engineers hated it.
I bet.
They felt bombarded. They felt watched. Every ding on Slack felt like an accusation. Why haven't you fixed this?
So what do they do? Did they scrap the feature? Because I feel like a lot of companies would just say, well, the team hates it, turn it off.
Or they would tell the team, deal with it, this is transparency.
Right.
But Support Logic took a 1% improvement approach. They listened to the friction. They realized the stress wasn't coming from the information itself. It was coming from the lack of closure.
What do you mean lack of closure?
The engineers saw the alert, but they didn't know if anyone was handling it.
Oh, I see.
It's the bystander effect. Is Bob doing it? Is Sarah doing it? Do I have to do it? That uncertainty creates massive anxiety.
So how did they fix it?
They added a button.
A button.
A single button to the alert that said, acknowledge.
That's it. A button.
That is it. Once someone clicked acknowledge, the alert updated for everyone. The team knew, okay, Bob's got it.
Wow.
The anxiety vanished. The feature became useful again.
That is such a tiny tweak. But it completely saved the process.
That is the 1% mindset. It's not about waiting 6 months to release version 2.0 that fixes everything all at once. It's about listening to the friction today and making a tiny fix tomorrow.
I love that.
The author has a poster on his wall that captures this perfectly. It says, ship in days, plan in months, dream in years.
Ship in days, plan in months, dream in years.
Yeah.
That's powerful. It connects back to that Adobe value we mentioned at the start. Raise the bar.
It does. But raising the bar doesn't mean jumping 10 feet in the air instantly. It means raising it 1 inch every single day.
Consistency over intensity.
Exactly. It requires intellectual honesty. You have to be willing to look at your product or your culture, admit it's broken, and fix it incrementally.
And this brings us back to where we started. The difference between the hardware and the software. The hardware is the code you ship.
Right.
The software is the willingness to admit the code is broken.
Beautifully said. And to fix it based on what the customer actually needs, that's the full circle.
Yeah.
Voice of the customer gives you the direction. Transparency gives you the data. And the 1% mindset gives you the momentum.
So let's wrap this up with a bow for everyone listening. We've covered a lot of ground today. If we want to build this SX culture, this competitive weapon, we've got 3 main ingredients.
First, obsess over the voice of the customer. Don't be Nokia sitting on a pile of data while the world changes. Be Sunbasket.
Create simulations.
Sleep in the Airbnb. Get the thick data, not just the big data.
Second, break down the silos with transparency. Share the V2 MOM. Don't hide the yellow state.
Right.
If Salesforce can put their dirty laundry on a dashboard for the CEO, you can probably share a status update with your team. But remember, the goal is swarming, not shaming.
Crucial distinction. And third, commit to continuous improvement. Don't look for the silver bullet. Look for the acknowledge button. Fix the friction today.
You know, we started this by asking if culture is just woo-woo nonsense. I think we've proven it's definitely not, but you usually have a final thought to tie this all together. What's the one thing we should walk away with?
I think the most provocative idea in this chapter is this. Culture isn't what you write on the website. Culture is what you do when things go wrong.
Ooh, say more about that.
When a shipment is lost, when the server crashes, when the customer is screaming, that is when your culture is revealed.
Yeah.
If your team hides the problem, that's your culture. If they blame the customer, that's your culture. If they swarm to fix it and then update the process so it doesn't happen again, that is your culture. As the book says, if you don't define your culture, your problems will define it for you.
If you don't define your culture, your problems will define it for you. That is slightly terrifying, but very motivating. It puts the responsibility right back on leadership.
It does. You really can't outsource culture.
So here is our challenge to you, the listener. We talked about dog fooding today. We talked about walking in the customer's shoes. I want you to ask yourself one question.
Okay.
If you had to use your own product today, if you had to act as a new customer starting from scratch, what is the one thing that would annoy you the most?
And don't just write it down. Fix it. Yeah, exactly. Find your acknowledge button and fix it by tomorrow. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.
See you then.